Hola! Welcome to the Two Amigas in Hollywood podcast. We are Lina Sanchez and Maria Angela Quiroga, and we live in Hollywood. Yes, in Hollywood.
We are entertainment professionals in love with this industry, and we want to share our experience and knowledge
And that of our guests.
Wow.
to help you navigate the Hollywood labyrinth.
Hola! So welcome everybody to this new episode of the Two Amigas
In
in
Hollywood.
Hollywood. For this episode, we're gonna talk about how is our experience living in Los Angeles. I think we're gonna tell a little bit more about our story, how we came here, and I don't know, a little bit more of our insights. We are gonna give you some advices to everyone that is just coming to LA or is thinking to have an experience here or is thinking to study or I don't know, work in this industry. So I think we're gonna talk about all these things.
Yeah, I mean, it's very different. It's a different city from all the cities I've lived in, which are just two extra ones. But yeah, it's different. So, okay, so let's start a little bit. Going back on the last episode, you listened to kind of Lina's background and my background. I also wanted to mention currently am focusing in my photography. I basically work in commercial and editorial photography, and it's really nice. I used to work in-house before, as I said on the last episode, but freelancing is really nice. You meet a lot of people. Your week changes every time. And then it also allows you to have more time to network, but also to be more creative, and also be very careful with your budget. But it's been a great experience. I work as a digitech, as a photographer, and occasionally as a photo assistant as well. And most recently, I have also come into the marketing space with the Orchestra of the Americas, which has been great because I can mix all my music background and like my eye for design and ideas for photography and like content creation, which has been really nice. I'm diving more into marketing, which kind of goes hand to hand with all the photography that I've been doing for the past 8 years. I think it's also very nice that we're doing the podcast like this because I'm a freelancer, sorry, and then you work in-house, so and you work in TV, which is very different.
It's very different. So thank you for that introduction. So we're gonna just talk about our experience living in LA. So let's dive into when that happened. I remember you said like it was in 2017 as well that you I think went to New York first to study in the New York Film Academy, right? So what happened after 2 years of living in New York? You came to LA.
Yeah, I lived in New York for a year, but before then I was living in Bogota, my city. Our city.
Our city.
Our city. So I was living in Bogota for all my life. And in 2017, I moved to New York right in the middle of winter, which, again, a lot of people hate, but I enjoyed a lot. I kind of want to go back a little bit. So it's really nice. But yeah, New York was amazing. I always felt that it was basically like Bogota, but much bigger, like much more diverse. It was also at the beginning, it was a little bit of a challenge because everybody talked really fast in English. And I learned English in a bilingual school, like high school. But then in college, I didn't practice. So when I moved to New York, I was a little bit, I don't know, how do you say it? Like without practice.
No, yeah, I think I felt the same. I think I thought I was like my English was super perfect until I got here.
Oh, yeah.
And I realized like, oops, no, my English is not that perfect. But
Yeah.
So
But we're
I
doing this
understand.
podcast in English, so,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
So New York I loved it. It was great. And then I moved to LA. To be honest, it took me I want to say between 6 months to a year to actually feel like I like the city, that I like California and the people, and kind of felt more at home. Because when I moved to New York, it was like right away, I felt I fit in, right? Or not even fit in, but I loved it. And I was like a student and all of that. But just the city is like, for me, it's easy. Coming from Bogota, which is a big city, people might not know, but Bogota is a very big city. It's the capital of Colombia, and it's a very fast-paced city. New York as well is very fast-paced. And then when I moved to LA, it was like someone was pressing like the brake on the car. Like it was like whoa. So I actually learned to sleep well in LA and take
Yeah.
everything like with more of a calm energy. So that was when I was still studying, because my first year of the master's was in New York. The second one was in LA. That's actually why I moved. But then I actually got my job in LA, so that's why I decided to stay. Because I actually applied to a couple of things in New York, passed the first filter, and then didn't hear back. But then I had something like for real here. So I was like, let me just stay here. Moving is also very energy consuming, and like, budget wise, it also um get your pocket gets impacted a little bit. So I was
Yes.
like, let me just stay, let me give LA a little bit of a chance. So another thing I thought kind of changed my perspective on LA was I because I was a student, an international student, it was a little bit harder for me to get a car and actually move around the city and get to know the city. So when I graduated, I got my car. My dad helped me a little bit with the car, which was great. So yeah, I got the car, and it really changed my life because it was easier to move around, to go to work freelance gigs. It was so much
I think
easier.
that's a big thing. I also feel like when I go to New York, I also feel more comfortable with New York just because everything is walking distance.
Yeah.
Sometimes I still have this issue with LA that you need a car basically for everything.
Yeah.
And for me, also being from Bogota, which is a very walking distance city where everything is really close by, it's something that is annoying and it's hard to get used to be on the car and go with your car everywhere.
Yes,
For
definitely.
sure.
It's a thing to have in mind when you get to the cities. One of those cities that it does have public transportation, but it's not as efficient as like New York, Toronto.
Not at all.
Not at all. I mean, even Bogota, like in Bogota's public transit is not as efficient time wise, but you can get everywhere. So, not in LA.
And also, we have to say LA is super expensive. So, you want to save a little bit of money taking like public transportation because even though you take Uber or anything like that, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. So that's another like thing about LA that it's
Also, just
expensive.
because and it gets expensive because of the distances. That's another thing. Yeah, New York is big,
But it's more
but
compact, I think. Maybe?
yeah, yeah, it's more compact, but at the same time, you can cross Manhattan, or I used to live in Brooklyn and go like, I don't know, to Central Park in, I don't know, 40 minutes. But in LA, it takes like traffic gets more annoying, and like it's just a more spread out city, so everything takes a little bit longer. So that's why people are like, oh, I don't really want to go to the east side, or oh, I don't really want to go to the west side. But I think we're pretty good with that. We kind of move around a lot
Well,
because
that's another big thing. A lot of the people that already have been here for a while, they are in my personal perspective, a lot of people, they don't want to move a lot, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
if they live in Pasadena, they don't want to go to the west side.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that lives in the west side too, they don't want to go to Pasadena, or they don't want to go to Burbank or things like that. So that's the other thing that we talked before. We try to not do that. We try to be really open minded about going everywhere, because even though we have been here for 7 years, I think or in my case, I still consider myself a tourist.
Also, another thing about the LA experience, if you want to call it like that, it's very funny and it has happened to the both of us a few times. You're just randomly in a gallery and then a huge, like, actor that you know since forever from the movies appears, and then you're like, oh my God, I need
Yeah,
a
we call
photo.
that the LA moment for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later, then you go back to your life. But it's very random.
Mm-hmm.
It's, but I love it.
So, okay, so you came in LA 2017. Your father helped you with the car.
Yeah.
It was
My
like
mom helped me also with a little bit of tuition as well. And
okay,
I got a scholarship and
and
some student loans.
oh well,
Everything. It's just honestly like coming to school here is very expensive.
it's very
Yeah.
expensive. So you know, we were talking about like kind of like the things that you felt that were a little bit difficult to get used to it when you just got to LA. So the first thing was like getting the car, and needed the car to go basically everywhere.
I mean, yes, the car was a big thing, but at the same time, I think it was also the teachers. Like, I love my teachers, don't get me wrong, but the pace was very different. Like, what we will learn in 1 week in New York, it took like a month here. So I was shocked. That's why I really learned to sleep in LA, because since like the whole of my life, I've been, in swimming lessons, gymnastics, and then music lessons after school, before school, whatever. So I haven't really slept because I became this overachiever. And then I moved to New York, and then school was like from, I don't know, 8, 9 in the morning until like, depending on the day, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 until 7 or whatever. But then we had to do homework, and what I loved was the homework was outside. So you had to go out the city and like take photos, and the homeworks were like very nice because he was like, you need to fine tune this technique and show it to me in whatever type of photography subject you want, but like it was outside. Or when we started like with strokes and everything in the studio, but it was like very nice for me because I was coming from a music background in Colombia. I graduated from a BA in music performance, and at the end I was like not enjoying it really because I was like playing the piano by myself for about 8 hours a day. And I was like, whoa, that's like I'm not having any. I even told my mom, I'm like, I remember she was like, oh, let's go out on the weekend. Let's go out to, I don't know, the mall and like, grab some donuts or whatever. And I was like, no, I have to practice. No, I have to practice. So,
Oh, wow.
it became kind of solitary. But then coming to New York, it was like super nice. And then coming to LA, everything was very slow. That changed when I started actually working. So once I got my OPT, I started working, and that really changed the pace of things because that's when you really felt how the city vibed, and that's when I really enjoyed it. And also later, I just discovered all the kind of nature and the landscaping that it's here. So you're in the ocean in like 20 minutes. You are 2 hours away. There's Big Bear and you can see the snow, or you can drive a couple. I mean, more than a couple, like 4 hours. But it's Yosemite and all of these like amazing cities. Also, San Francisco is pretty near. San Diego. So that also kind of made me want to stay here because because of the nature as well, I
Mm-hmm.
felt that was harder to have in New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. How about you? I mean, you got here 2017 again,
Mm-hmm.
and then what happened?
Well, I think my experience was a little bit different because, well, well, not that different because I also, when I got here in 2017 in March, I started like in the New York Film Academy as well. And like talking about public transportation, it was really hard because I live in the west side. Near the New York Film Academy is in Burbank. So I remember in the morning, like Justin, my husband, he needed to take me. His office at that time was in Hollywood. So in the morning, he was helping me to go to Hollywood, and then I was taking a bus to Burbank. But at night, like I finished classes like at 7 p.m., I needed to take a bus from Burbank to Culver City, which
That
were
takes a
like
while.
2 hours.
Yeah.
So for a couple weeks, I was doing all these commute. And then, I was really excited to be in LA. I love LA since the first time that I came. But I think that first month or weeks, I realized how difficult it was because I was like, I'm basically, I finish classes at 7, but I'll be at my home at 9:30, 10 sometimes, because that's the other thing, public transportation. And I think this is a big deal about LA, is not like the times and the availability of the buses and the metro is not really accurate. So they say sometimes it's like 10 minutes, but it ended up being like, I don't know, 20. So sometimes it says like, if you try to find the time in Google, you will see like it's, I don't know, 1 hour, but it ended up being 2 hours because of this inaccuracy in the times with the buses and the metro in LA.
Yeah, that
So
actually happened to us. So I used to live near the school in Burbank, just because honestly, like I finished school in New York on a Friday and I had to start that Monday here. And it was the first time I came to LA, so I didn't know the city. So I rented an Airbnb and then stayed there for, I want to say, I don't know, a few months, let's say 7 months or something like that.
mhm.
But then a friend, his wife, and me, we moved to um, like farther up in the valley. And it took us 2 hours in the bus. And it was two buses or the subway and then another bus. But then on the second bus, once we were checking like the app, and it said like, yeah, it's gonna be here in like 5 minutes, and we're like, oh, okay, great. And then 15 minutes went by, and
Exactly. That's
yeah,
exactly what happened.
we
Yeah.
were like, oh shoot,
Yeah.
now we have to go to school like in an Uber. And
Mhm.
I mean, but that right now we're okay with it, but back then we had like
Studying
international and
budget.
student budget, which is less than like
Uh.
American student
Yes.
budget. so
Oh my
so
god.
yeah, it was, we learned a lot. We learned about budgeting.
Yeah, no, no. So that was my experience. Like, after, like, the thing for me was like the reality of living in LA hit me really hard immediately. I knew since the beginning that living in LA was gonna be hard, and because in my process, I was in this process to get married with my husband, so I knew like since the beginning that it was gonna take me a while to get my driver's license and everything, because I needed to wait for my paperwork to get that, and it was gonna be a whole thing. So I basically, in my personal experience, I was 8 year without driving. So it was really hard. I didn't know anyone, and that was really hard too.
Yeah.
But what happened? So after studying in the New York Film Academy, you mentioned that you also had, well, your mother helped you, your father helped you. What else happened after
So
that?
yeah, I had scholarship, student loans. Mom
Exactly.
helped and dad helped.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody pitched in. But yeah, so after that I got my OPT, which for the people that don't know, it's like
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a work permit. government gives you after you complete a graduate program,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't really know if it's also bachelor's, but let's say a degree as
I
a
think it's a
general rule,
degree.
I
Mm-hmm.
think. So for me, it was a year, but I think for STEM careers is 3 years. So I got it for a year. I got a job at a photography studio as a retoucher and designer.
Mm-hmm.
And since I was in Colombia, I always have freelanced as well. So that really helped me because as an entry level position at this studio, it wasn't that much money, to be honest. So the freelance gigs were really key for me to,
Mm.
get my life set
Right. You
up.
were talking about how is your experience being a
Yeah,
freelance in LA? Yeah.
exactly. So I kind of mix both. But at the same time, it's fair to say that I think most of the people that come to this country, um, everybody probably has to start with roommates, even if from like, I think even Americans that just moved to a different city, like an expensive city like New York, San Francisco, LA, all of these like big cities, pretty much almost everybody lives with roommates because it's a little bit pricey.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to save a little bit while you get more
Correct.
budget while you grow and hone your skills. So yeah, so that was that with the studio, and then I stayed there for a few years, and then it was time for me to
Mm-hmm.
be on my own, and that's been my life ever since.
I want to say I came with $300 thinking that that was going to last 3 months. No
That is less
way.
than a week.
No, like I was, I don't know, really wrong about that.
Well, but $300 in Colombian money is
Well, it's a
it's
lot.
good,
Well, no, well, yeah. Now it's not a lot, but
but
it's a good
enough.
money. It's
Yeah,
good money. Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I came here with with $300,
And a
uh,
suitcase.
and a suitcase.
We can make a song.
Yeah, no, that was really hard, and yeah, that's a very important thing to mention. Basically, I also started my life with roommates too. So
Yeah.
when I came here, my husband already had a apartment with roommates. We actually had three more roommates because we had a big apartment, 3 bedrooms.
Mm-hmm.
So it was my husband with me and two friends upstairs and one more close to us. So yeah, that was like we were a lot of people. And I think we also need to mention something about this is like sometimes it takes a long time to to be established here. I think because we were young. When I came here I was 26. You were
I moved to New York about 24 or 25. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I also that I mentioned in the first episode, it was my first time living outside my country, outside my home. So I was really happy to live with roommates. I think I really enjoyed, and I had a really amazing experience with my roommates until today. Borja and Guy are still like kind of like my brothers. After I don't know maybe 4 years of living together, but for sure living with roommates is one of the first things that you are going to experience living in LA.
Yeah, and that is key. I've heard a lot of crazy stories about roommates. I was lucky enough to have roommates in New York that were amazing. Um, like fun, different careers, all of that, and that showed me another perspective. But also in LA, my first roommates in LA were really nice. I still talk to them to this day, not as often, but I talk to them. And then when I moved more like to Chatsworth, and
Mm-hmm.
which is deeper in the valley,
Mm-hmm.
then that was the house of my friend's wife uncle.
Oh, oh yes.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
and they're Colombian, and they became honestly like
Like family.
family. So,
Hmm.
and they have little Colombian things in the house, so it really felt like
Yeah,
home.
that
And
make
I
you feel
think,
like home. Yeah.
yeah, and I think my parents felt also like that I was safer somehow.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, so but roommates, having good roommates is key. I mean, if you have the budget to be on your own, it's also great. But I also want to encourage people to have roommates when you're starting out, because when you're starting out in a city that you don't really know, you might feel alone, and
Hmm.
having roommates is really nice. To start like hanging out and meeting more people.
Yeah,
So that's good
I think
for a
that is
few
nice.
years, and then you're like, okay,
Enough.
enough of this. I want my own place.
So, you also said like it took you like a year to feel like, oh, okay, I feel more comfortable with LA and I feel more comfortable with the dynamic of, the car and all these changes. So, when is when you start feeling a little bit better and how that changed that experience of living in LA?
Yeah, so it was basically between 6 months to a year. Again, I think the card was like paramount in the change because I could move farther out,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
maybe go traveling, go on a like weekend trip or something, which I didn't do before. Um, Also, it was by the time that it was graduation. So my parents came into the city, and we also got to explore the city, and we got to like actually see things that I didn't see while I was in school.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, "But you live here. Why don't you
Mm-hmm.
know about this place?" And I'm like, "Well, because I've been studying." There's
Not doing anything
priorities.
more.
Yeah, exactly. It's a slow process, but once you get to really love the city, you love it forever. Like now, it has to be a big thing to make me move, probably.
Yeah, I remember. So I was hanging with Justin's friends, and I remember Matt James. We were talking, and he was asking me like, "How do you feel living in LA?" And I was like, "Horrible." After a month, maybe or 5 weeks, I was like, it took me 2 or 3 hours to go home at night after going to college. Like I was like, and I real again, I think I felt the real experience of LA really soon. So I was like overwhelmed. Again, I was like really far from my family. I only had like $300 to survive. I was not
And
feeling
you're a
really well.
person that really doesn't like to depend on
Yeah,
a
that was the
guy.
other thing. I don't like to depend on, not even on my husband. So it was really hard for me not to know, for example, when I was gonna get a job or if I was gonna be able to have a job, even. Like, I didn't know that. So I was really struggling. And then he says, like, well, um, it took me like 3 years to feel better with LA.
Wow.
And I remember I was like, 3 years? I've been only been here for 5 weeks. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
That's the
So,
thing, the biggest difference for me when people ask me, "Do you like New York or LA best?" I'm like, honestly, I love both. I cannot choose. I can't. But I think New York is one of the cities that you're like you like it right away or you don't. It's like it's right away. Or at least for me.
mm-hmm.
But LA, it takes you a while,
Ooh.
and the good thing is just once you really love it, you love it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's not a city for everybody. I know a lot of stories also
Mm-hmm.
from people that they it's not that they don't make it, but it's just not the city for them
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and for their
Exactly.
careers and different
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So it's good to know that he told you that it was 3 years because
But yeah, but then I was like, oh my god, I've been only here for 5 weeks.
oh no.
No, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And then he told me something really specific. And then now, after almost 7 years of living here, I'm like, yeah, a lot of people, they just need to find their niche. Like, they need to find their people, their friends, their places. And he told me, when you start like really knowing what you like and the people that you like and the things that you like, I promise you are gonna feel amazing. But throughout this process, I understand that you are feeling like you're struggling, because he told me I struggle about that too.
Yeah, but it's
Um,
key what you just said. that he told you, that once you start getting to know your people, that's, I think,
The big
so
change.
important that I, besides what I already said, the car, the working environment, all of that, honestly, to get my core friends of core group of friends,
Mm-hmm.
that's really when. So probably it took me more than a year, honestly, because to get my real group of friends, that was honestly life changing as well. Because yes, I'm still like friends with all my friends from high school. Like, we catch up, I don't know, probably every month. I have great friends. But yeah, nothing like having someone that you can see every week, or like to go out, and maybe even also someone that's going through kind of a similar process than you, maybe with like immigration and coming to another country, and maybe in the industry. I think that has been really nice,
Mm-hmm.
for me, to have you, to have Valentina, to have all
Mm-hmm.
these other different friends that I have, because it's really important to see that and to hear that from your peers.
Mm-hmm.
Because also it's just very different from people that already have passport privileges. They don't really know that, so they might take it a little bit for granted, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think there is two sides of that. And for example, y- I do think it's super important to find your people in LA and to find the places that you like, the restaurants that you like, because I also think LA is for everyone.
The Japanese
The
barbecue that you
Japanese
like.
barbecue that we love. But I also think LA is for everyone. So just you just need time to really find out what are the things that you like, the restaurants that you like, the people that you like. But the other side of that is it's also really hard to make friends here
Yeah.
because there is a lot of reasons. Because of the distances, because LA is huge and really spread out. So it's like someone can live in the west side, someone can live in Pasadena, and it's gonna be really hard to have a place in the middle. Like everyone is working a lot. A lot of the people is surviving, so it's just really hard to just say like, hey, just go, let's go to a dinner. Like people have different schedules, like everyone is doing a lot of different things, so sometimes it's really hard to find a time, a place to meet your friends. And I think the other important part that we need to mention is like, because LA is a place where a lot of international people come here, usually because of their visas and their immigration status and other kind of factors, they leave LA.
Yeah,
So
people come
that's a
and
big
go a lot.
thing. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So sometimes you make friends, but maybe those friends, they will, not live really a long time in LA.
Yeah. And also, it's also a cultural thing.
Mm-hmm.
We were
Yep.
talking, we were saying before that sometimes for maybe Americans, or I don't really know Europeans, but let's say Americans in general, it takes them a while to actually open themselves and really really connect as friends. Well, like if you compare that to Latinos, we're like, oh hi, and then you're like best friends.
Best friends. Yes.
So yeah, of course it takes a while to get to know someone, but we have actually discovered that it takes much longer with different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also probably why I feel now I have a lot of great friends from everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. But yeah, my core group of friends is Latinos.
Yeah, that's reality. I also something that I love about LA is like, yeah, you have friends from all parts of the world. I have friends from Russia, from different parts of Africa, from like everywhere, and that's so nice too. But it's sometimes it's if yeah, Latinos, we connect in a different way. That's for sure a fact, and I think maybe between Colombians and Mexicans we are best friends, or that's what I like. I've been,
That's what we like to think.
yeah, that's what I like to think. I love Mexicans, and I think we are the closest in culture related and things that happen the same thing. Like Colombians or Mexicans, we're really close, and yeah, there is a lot of these connections here, and for sure it's the same for me. I have friends from all different parts of the world, but the people that I connected the most and I'm more into them is for sure my Latino friends.
Yeah. So let's move a little bit to more of the insights in the industry. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear your opinion because you were in the industry but in Colombia,
Mm-hmm.
and then you moved here, and then you are in the industry here, which is uh, maybe this is the wrong statement, or I don't really know, but I think this is the capital of the entertainment. That, I
100%.
mean, LA exports so much,
Everything.
so much of the entertainment to the world that
Mm-hmm.
it's insane. So that's also one thing that we love about the city. But what do you think about like the change of the industry in Colombia and the change when you came here?
Well, the big thing about LA is like everything in LA is about entertainment. So it's a big thing that LA, everything you do or everywhere you go is about entertainment. Every artist in the world comes here. Every movie in the world is going to release here. Like everything is going to happen here.
I feel we felt that, especially with musicians. Last year, we went to so many concerts and like big concerts
Mm-hmm.
that I think if we were in Colombia, we wouldn't have had the opportunity or have it so easy because it's, I mean, it wasn't even that expensive to be honest.
Yeah,
It
no.
was great.
Yeah, no, I think so. Of course, there is a huge difference, Bogota and LA, because the amount of entertainment and the people that is here and the opportunities that we have here, the food that we have, like everything in entertainment, like it's just crazy here. The amount of things that you can get here is insane. The
All
people
over.
that you met, like something really specific about the two different, like I say, industries
Hmm.
is, for example, here in LA you can find people that have been in the industry for 40 years. That's crazy. I have conversations with people that have been in the industry over 30 years. That's crazy because I think in Colombia, I think we are maybe in the next couple of years we are just like going into that, like and our industry, I think in Colombia the industry has been like
Growing.
growing a lot, but still is Bogota is not a city about entertainment. Bogota is a city with all different kind of things, but not really focused on entertainment. So, for example, something I was thinking about this because I saw something a couple weeks ago, and it was like, so they just really released Blue Beetle. Is the first movie directed by a Latino, and the main character is also a Latino. So I don't know if this was a agreement that they did, like Blue Beetle and Marvel did with this restaurant, but I thought it was a great idea, and that's how you really see how much entertainment is really connected with the city. So Blue Beetle is blue, right? And this restaurant is Tacos in 1986,
Oh, delicious.
that are one of my favorite tacos in LA. And a couple weeks ago, when the movie was released, they decided to do like a blue taco day. You know,
Okay.
so I don't know. Everything that you find here is crazy related to entertainment. Also, we are now experiencing a big strike with the SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild, and I saw a crazy amount of restaurants giving them support by giving them
Special
discounts,
discounts.
special discounts. So that's crazy if you think about it. That's something that will, I don't know. I will never say like that will never happen in Bogota, but at least it's so difficult that's gonna happen there because is not really Bogota is not really 100% connected to what's going on with entertainment. And the craziest part of everything that I'm saying now is a couple weeks ago. Well, like 2 weeks ago, I was flying from LA to New York, and the flight attendant has the pins with the SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild in his chest.
Like in
So
solidarity of the
yeah,
strike.
so I actually posted that on my Instagram saying like, no place in the world like you will have a flight attendant with like supporting the strike, you know. So that's my, kind of like my thoughts about how different is living in Bogota in terms of the
The industry.
entertainment, the industry, and how different is here in LA. But what is your experience?
Well, I think my experience is different because I mean, I was a musician before. So when I moved countries, I actually changed careers. So it's different as well. Music is still part of entertainment, but it's a whole different beast,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I've come to really learn more and be involved more within the industry, basically since I moved to the States. So it's just different, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm a little bit not behind, but like less years of experience in the entertainment industry as we know it in LA and in the States than in Bogota. Because I can talk to you more about like the music aspect of the entertainment industry back home, which is also very tiny. I mean, compared to what the opportunities there are here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's just different. So I don't think I can really say that much about it just because
Mm-hmm.
I switched careers. It's a thing. I will say, talking with all the people that we talk now within the industry, is crazy to see how many of them change roles and careers within the industry. But
Mm-hmm.
it evolves so much that before, I think, I don't know, maybe this was my opinion, but before in Colombia, I thought everyone, or what was maybe instilled,
Mm-hmm.
is that a word?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
En
What,
español.
yeah. Lo que me metieron en la cabeza.
Yeah.
So what was put in my head, let's put
Mm-hmm.
it like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was that you choose something and then you choose a career path, and that's one thing you're going to do for the whole life, and hopefully in just one company. But what we've learned here is the opposite. Which is, I mean, to be honest, I love it and it goes really well to what I have been doing in my life. So yeah, it's like, also that's one of the things that LA and let's say the US has taught me,
Mm-hmm.
is just learn more to be fluid. And also the pandemic, like you can plan all you want, but
Yeah. No.
nothing really is gonna go
You don't
exactly
control
as you
anything.
plan it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I think that's also a part that I also love about LA. I think we talk a lot about the not the nicest things about LA, but talking about the
But we
things
love
that we
it.
love. Yeah, we have to clarify that we love LA. Like now, yeah, one of the things is just having the opportunity to, in my case, for example, being a multi-passionate human, like I love to do a lot of different things within the industry, like being here and understanding that I can do different things, that's for sure have helped me a lot to really enjoy more my career and be more passionate about it, because it's not
And
that
more
I
creative.
more creative, because it's not like I need to just do one thing the rest of my life. It's like I can do different things and I can be multi passionate about my career, and I can, be a producer, be a post producer, like doing this podcast. I'm also really creative, so like to give ideas. Like there is a lot of things that you
You
can
have
do.
helped with styling
I
as well.
styling. I also have work on sound. Like I've been in the whole spectrum,
Yeah.
you know.
And I
So.
think that's very important to say to people. Um, I think, and I have seen it on sets, the people that are, I mean, it's really good to be focused, don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
really good to be
Mhm.
focused.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, if you don't know about the job of the other people in the film crew or whatever, uh, it basically what I'm trying to say is knowing more of the roles, and maybe being a PA one time, or maybe being script supervisor one time, or something just different from what you, if you're like an actor, let's say, if you know more of the other roles, it's gonna make you better at what you do, and also it's gonna make you understand people and the direction people are giving you as well. So it's just overall gonna make you a better professional, in my opinion. So yeah, that's really good. So starting to wrapping up this second episode, we have great guest speakers coming on to further episodes, which we are very excited about. But let's finish up with saying, what is the advice you have for people that are coming to LA?
Um, well, I think my advice will be to just have a really open minded about everything. And when I say everything, is like LA is gonna change you in a better way to be a better human. So just be really open about everything, about politics, about food, about places, about people. Like try to be as much as you open these like world of opportunities, and always willing to learn about everything and everyone. And yeah, it's exactly what you just said. Like it's really good to focus on one thing in your career, but I think LA will give you also this safe space to really try different things, and don't be afraid to do it. You know, if you have a friend that calls you because he needs help for a project doing whatever it is, say yes. Like what
I mean, if you have the time, say
yeah, I
yes.
mean, if you have the time, but say yes. I think something that is has helped me a lot in my journey, in my career, is basically say yes to a lot of things. Even even that I'm now a post producer working for a big company, it's really weird that I say no to things. At this point of my career, if and I still have a lot of friends that are directors, producers, like musicians, and if they call me to do whatever at this point, like happy to be a PA of my friends, for my friends. So I think in general terms, like just be really open-minded about everything. If you have the time, if you are willing to say yes to as much things as you can.
I
If
would say
you
help your friends a lot, but
mm-hmm.
like if you're in an actually like more professional environment, be careful with people that want to take advantage of you.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a fine line.
yeah, it's a fine line, yeah, for sure. And yeah, just be really open-minded about everything and enjoy as much as you can. And of course, I guess that if you are living here because you love entertainment and you want to be in this crazy city where everything is about entertainment, just do as much things as you can. Try to go as many places as you can, try to go to as many restaurants as you can, like just really enjoy exploring the city and exploring having friends from all different parts of the world, exploring having food that maybe you never thought you were gonna try. Everything, just always have
Different workouts.
different workouts. If you're in LA, you can have indoors workouts, or you can go to the beach. Like there is a crazy amount of things you can do, but don't stay in the same place. Just try to move, try to meet new people, try to go to different places. This is a huge city with such an amount of different opportunities, restaurants, places, that it's worth it to you to just, if you're living here, it's because of that, because you're gonna be exploring for the time that you're gonna live here, exploring everything and going to a new place and meet new people. So I think that will be my advice.
Yeah, mine will be, I think, don't be afraid to reach out to people. I think I struggle with that at the beginning a lot, and sometimes I still do. I need to like push myself to really do it. Um, it's not easy, especially as coming from Latin America. I think there's something, I don't know why we don't really reach out to people.
I think it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
It's not the way it works there.
Yeah, but here people usually are very welcoming if you just are very polite and send a nice email, I mean, DMing to some people,
Sometimes.
but if you can get the email of someone, that's honestly a good way to get a coffee date with someone that you look up to, or even like peer-to-peer conversations are really important as well. So just be very open when you are on set or on a working environment. Be open to people coming to you and talking to you, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just make a habit of reaching out to people, because that helps make connections, that helps you get seen in the industry.
100%.
That is basically a lot of the things in the industry, and I've realized in basically all the industries are networking.
Mm-hmm.
One person once asked me like, so I'm kind of like bored in Colombia because everything's like networking, and I'm like, well, that's the world. So
Well, LA.
yeah, so everything's networking, but I do feel people here are more open to it and
Mm-hmm.
open to, give you a hand if you're very nice and
Mm-hmm.
polite and empathetic.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, just don't be afraid to do that. So I think with that, we're wrapping up our second episode. Thank you for so much for listening. We're very excited. Good job, Lina.
So see you in the next episode. And thank you so much for being with us here today.
Yeah, one more thing for our listeners that wanna know that they can listen. I mean, they can listen in English, but read with subtitles in
Mm-hmm.
Spanish. We
Mm-hmm.
wanna be inclusive with our own Spanish,
Community.
Latin American roots.
Yeah.
So we are also launching the podcast in YouTube with Spanish subtitles for everybody that wants to see them.
Yeah.
So see you next time. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Two Amigas in Hollywood podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, where you can find Spanish subtitled episodes. You can also check us out on TikTok and Instagram. Special thanks to Justin Potter for general tech support and translations, Paula Fajardo for cover art design, Daniel Gonzalez for the original music, as well as trailer sound design and editing, and Juliana Henao for audio consulting. See you on the next one!